Greetings and welcome to another video. It's Sunday, 1st of September 2024, and I've just finished reading a really good book that my mum gave me. So thank you, Mum. I really do appreciate you let me read this book. Thank you. And the book in question is Apley Hall, The Golden Years of a Sporting Estate by Norman Sharpe. And on the back it says, the story of a gamekeeping family through 2 world wars, a fascinating insight into the changing fortunes of a 20th century sporting estate. And we've got some more information right here going on. Norman Sharpe grew up on a sporting estate in the glorious county of Shropshire. His father had taken up the post of head gamekeeper on the Apley estate in 1902, and Norman succeeded him in 1928. In these powerful recollections, Norman recounts the richness of the wildlife, the diversity of the estate's shooting and fishing, and the many colourful folk who lived and worked there during the first 70 years of the 20th century. At the start of the story, cartridges were still being loaded with black powder. The Ironbridge coracle men, doyens of the poaching fraternity, still plied their nocturnal trade. Cart horses dominated the land, grey partridges were shot by walking up, and hunting held pride of place in the sporting agenda. Then came the Great War, and in 1918 Norman was wounded in the trenches and told he would never work manually again. But back home he forced his body back into order, and by 1921 was able to throw aside his second stick and once again work under his father on the estate. From 1924, following the death of the old squire, his son entertained many politicians, show business personalities and literary figures. Sport on the estate intensified, driven partridge shooting was introduced, Nobel smokeless replaced black powder, and in the kennels, flats and curlies surrendered pride of place to the Labrador retriever. Most farm work was still done manually though, and for the first time in living memory there was fishing for salmon on the estate. After the Second World War, a very different scene prevailed as the estate underwent great changes, and in the 60s there was the near total demise of the grey partridge. The recollections of 70 years are portrayed with clarity, humour and poignancy. In this unique account of the glorious sporting estate of which Norman and his father before him served as custodians for 66 unforgettable years. Norman Sharpe came to Apley Lodge in 1902 and lived there for the rest of his life. At 14 he left the village school and worked in the estate office in Bridgnorth until the outbreak of the Great War. After 2.5 years of trench warfare, he was seriously wounded, recovering in 1921 to become a beat keeper under his father, whom he eventually succeeded as head keeper at Apley Hall in 1928. He held this position until 1968, when, on retirement, he wrote these memoirs. Now they are introduced and placed in context by his son, Edward Sharpe. So yeah, more information about this book. More information is going to be in the description box below this video. So by all means, check that out, especially if you're interested in getting your own copy of this book. I imagine bookstores like Waterstones in Telford Town Centre will stock their own copies, as well as checking out websites, go do your online shopping, see how that works out. But yeah, like I said, reading this book is really interesting. Norman Sharpe goes into many great stories about the estate itself and the wildlife that he encountered on a daily basis there. And as he grew older, his many fishing trips and various places on the estate itself, and various other places around different parts of Shropshire and everything. He talks about the different types of fish he would encounter on these fishing ships. He, on one occasion, talks about otters, and here we got to see them on a couple of occasions. Then he also talks about the different types of birds, from owls to grey partridge to any other kind of bird you can imagine would be there at the estate at one time of the year or another. And just everything else from badgers, foxes, even with dogs, the working dogs they had on the estate to help them maintain all the work going on there. It was really interesting. So there's a lot going on in this book. And if you're interested in local history, especially the local history of Shropshire, then this is definitely something worthy for you to pick up. And on top of that, if you're also interested in wildlife, local nature, plant life, then a lot of that is talked about in here as well. So for that's another reason to take interest in this book, to be honest, as Norman Sharpe does often talk about the different types of plants and other things connected to how the state was operated. He also mentions many of the guests who come and visit the estate, and to be honest, some of the names of the people mentioned I personally don't know, so I'll have to look them up another time. But I imagine many of the people who came to Apley Estate were absolutely interesting people, quite well. We had their own adventures of, basically their own adventures, definitely worth learning about. To be honest, that's what I'm trying to say. Sorry about that. But yeah, definitely one of the better books regarding the local history of Shropshire that I've recently been reading about. So yeah, definitely top marks on this one. A couple of details in this book Norman Sharpe doesn't really go into detail about. He references certain details, like when airplanes started to be a thing around the time of, well, just before 1914, and I think once or twice after 1918 as well. And also his experiences in World War One. He doesn't, he references it, but he doesn't really talk about it. Now, it's possible he goes into more detail about these things in other books he's written, but I don't know, I've not seen those books yet. But at the same time, considering that this particular book is about Apley Hall itself, it's good and appropriate that you don't get sidetracked into these other things, no matter how interesting these other bits of information may turn out to be. Considering this book is about Apley Hall itself, it's good that Norman Sharpe stays focused on his life at Apley Hall. So yeah, that's something to bear in mind. But still, definitely worth the effort, that's for sure. Very much worth the effort in my opinion. So yeah. On that note, I'm going to finish this video here. Like I said, further details about this book will be in the description box below this video if you're interested. And yeah, take care everyone, be safe, have a good time, and I will see you all soon in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.